have in the studio today none other than Nitin Govila, who is the Managing Director of the Asia Pacific, Middle East and Africa business area of Serge Ferrari. Based in Singapore, he is also a family man and is actively involved in heartfulness activities in Southeast Asia. Nitin has been a heartfulness practitioner for almost 20 years now, and he is a certified trainer for 16 years. And he joins us today on the Payal Nanjiani Leadership Podcast to talk about success in the unknown. Nitin, welcome to the Payal Nanjiani Leadership Podcast. It is such an honor to have someone like you here.
Thank you, Payal, and thank you to be here on your podcast. And really, my pleasure to be here, and my honor to be here. So, looking forward to this interesting chat or a discussion which we'll have for the next some time.
Sure, great. And I was reading about you, and you're a managing director, you are a certified trainer, you're a heartfulness practitioner. So tell us, how did you get to be doing what you're doing?
Well, work-wise, I think it's my journey started in India. After my engineering and MBA, I started working for a paint company. Then for some time, I worked in the dairy sector. But having worked for 7 years in India, and I'm talking about early 2000, I felt I needed something to upgrade myself. And I then decided to do an international MBA in Paris at HEC Paris, which kind of exposed me to a very different environment and culture and an international exposure, which I was looking for. After that, my journey mostly went towards building materials, starting with home automation, then roofing, and then now again building materials, which is composite materials sector. So that was on the work side. And because I was in France and then also coming from Asia, when I had an opportunity to go into an Asia Pac role, I immediately jumped on it. And since 2008, I've been in Singapore 15 years, managing the region and now Middle East also. So that's on the work side. But on the meditation side, which is a very interesting facet, I consider, because it's well connected with what I am and what I do. In that sense, it started in my second year of working, I would say, when I was working in India. I got exposed to this practice of meditation by a salesperson who was reporting to me, and in our travel journeys together, he used to talk about it. So it took me some time and some books to read. But the moment I was exposed to and I had few sessions of this meditation, I immediately kind of stuck to it. And I felt, this is something very different and amazing. And ever since, it's been part of my life, as you said, nearly for 20 plus years. I've also been a heartfulness meditation trainer for 20 plus years. And as a trainer, we are all volunteers, helping people start the meditation practice, guiding them in that journey. And whenever I'm able to get time, physically, virtually, in any part, any country of the world, if I have a chance, I try to do that. So in fact, meditation, I would say, has helped me also in my professional journey, considering different time zones and work, to keep that balance, mind and mental state, and also, continue to face the pressures of this kind of professional life through different time zones and travels. And that's why it's intertwined for me together, and helping me, be in that balance in my life.
Wow, and you have this wonderful background also, and you mentioned that's for the heartfulness practitioner place or something.
Yeah, so this background which you see is actually an interesting place. It's our world headquarters, very close to Hyderabad. It's what we call as Kana Shantivanam. It's
That's in India, right?
one of the biggest. Yeah, it's in India. So Hyderabad is one of the IT cities, or upcoming IT cities, in terms of business and in terms of one very well managed cities in the country. And this is one of the biggest meditations also, I would say, in the world, with a capacity to seat at one point of time nearly 100,000 people. In fact, as we are speaking, there's a very big bhandara or a group gathering going on, and I could not travel there because I just came back from Europe. But I think there would be more than 50-60,000 people already there, and we are joining those meditation sessions virtually. to be part of that, which are being conducted by our guides. So it's interesting, one, because it's meditation center. Secondly, the white fabrics or membranes which you see on all the domes, they are also done by our company, the French company Serge Ferrari. So it gives me more special pride, in that sense, to be part of it in that project.
Wow, it's wonderful. It's looking so peaceful and so well done. And you were talking about meditation and how you got into this. Is that why you are termed as a meditative engineer?
Well, I don't know where that term came from, actually.
I read about it. I read about it.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah, for sure. My first professional qualification was engineer. But actually, in fact, I started meditation, as I said, slightly later when I started my work life. But I would rather say as a meditative professional rather than just saying as a meditative engineer, because then it encompasses everything, whether the technical side of it or the management or the professional side of it. Yeah. So I'm sure there are many professionals who also practice. I suppose there are maybe lesser people who are also practicing, plus acting as volunteers, as trainers, and not taking it as a profession, So there are people who kind of bring either yoga or some kind of meditation practice or other practices, but those are more, they take it as a profession and they do in that. But here, I would say, as heartfulness trainers, we are different because it's a code of conduct. It's as we are volunteers, so we bring this practice free to anybody who's interested. And in fact, heartfulness meditation is offered free. Okay. So whenever I have time, I have to be, ready, and I'm more than happy to share my personal time to share with corporates, with individuals, doing one-to-one or one-to-many meditation sessions. Yeah.
So how have you been using this in your own day-to-day profession? This entire concept of meditation, how have you been using it in your own field or at your work?
Well, I would say the first thing would be because this meditation is related to heart. So, and that's where the name comes from. I suppose the element of bringing the element of connection to the heart and being able to listen to your inner voice when you do things, or when you work on different situations or difficult situations, or with difficult people or environment, it really helps you because it keeps you grounded. It helps you remain connected. It also helps you to come out of stressful or difficult environments because you're able to maintain that balance. And at some times also you're able to balance the mind and the heart by the element of thinking versus feeling, because corporates, we are always taught to take decisions by facts, by numbers,
absolutely,
by using the mind. But we don't actually combine it with the feeling element, which comes through the voice of the heart, but then it has no language of itself. You need to just sense it and feel it.
Yes.
The question is, are we capable or mentally ready? I mean, I would say mentally calm to catch that voice. And this is where meditation helps, because when you combine the feeling and the thinking together, which is the mind and the heart together, I suppose you are a better professional. Now, people judge professionals by numbers, but I would rather judge professionals and leaders by more than numbers.
I absolutely agree. In fact, I read somewhere where you had written, and I pulled that out. It said, not only the mind, but the heart will play a crucial role in any profession. Is that how it's connected?
It is, because I think why it's any profession, I said that was because anyway, any profession involves people. And nobody is alive without the heart beating, right? In the physical sense of things. So the heart is always there. The question is, are we making use of it? Are we listening to it? Or are we, taking cognizance of how do we feel? Sometimes when we meet people, we immediately feel. How do we identify people? We identify them good-hearted, bad-hearted, stone-hearted, right? We always define with those adjectives. So heart is always playing or warm-hearted. Heart is always playing a role. But we say that, but we forget about it. Now, if we start using that in our understanding, you don't have to say, oh, my heart is saying this. You just have to feel it, and then maybe sometimes connect with your inner self. And then I suppose sometimes certain things just come because it's always inside you. But the clutter in the mind is always blocking for that voice to come out, or that right direction for you to take. And if the mind is at rest and at calm, then through the feeling of the heart, you are able to, take your path or understand what you have to do.
So all these, you have moved various places, like you said, in India, and
Yeah.
then you were in France, and then in Singapore. So all these unknown territories, that you have taken a step to, it's usually very scary, and people feel that, okay, if I am doing my job here, I better stick there. I don't know what's going to come up. What are some of the fears that you have faced, and how did you overcome them?
Well, that's a good question because, first when I went to France, it was my first ever international trip outside of India. I never even went for a holiday outside of India for that matter. So I directly landed to start my MBA in the peak winters of France, which was in December of
Oh.
2003.
Mm.
I think when I look back, obviously I have learned as we went along. I would say the key part has been to be very open, very curious, but at the same time, being a good listener or an observer. Because when you come to a new culture, and you know that as Indians, we are anyway exposed to different cultures by default, because it's a multicultural country, multilingual, multi styles. But then sometimes we become strong headed in the way we look at the world with one lens and start judging. So, being very open, being very observant, curious, and non judgmental helps you. And then observing small things around you, how people do things, how people work. When you go to a supermarket, or when you're in a college, or when you're in a company, I think that helps you to settle down, because in the end, people are people. It's also how you portray yourself in the end. It's like what energy you're transmitting subconsciously, in that sense. I mean, if you're judgmental or critical, I think it will show, and the people you'll meet will be counter, in that sense, that Newton law of, third law of force, and the push you receive.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You kind of transmit subconsciously that energy, whether you call it negative energy or that. So if you're open yourself, warm, and just trying to learn, obviously you may not have good experiences all the time, but there may be some cultural biases in those respective countries also, because those people may not have been exposed to, but you will find your way. So I think that's where you're able to overcome fears. For sure, it's better also to to talk to people, sometimes understand. If you know somebody, or when you're entering the country, you can ask people, people what to be careful about. So there's one scary part is, okay, about how you will live, or operate, or how you work around your work. But the other scary part could be also the environment, right? So there you obviously learn by reading something, or talking to people. So mix of all that, I think, helps you to do. And once you're able to do 2 or 3 countries, then I never traveled till 2003, and in the last 20 years I would have done 35-40 countries, and spent sufficient amount of time when I travel there. And then suddenly it becomes like you don't even think. It's just is in your subconscious, how you work and operate. But
yeah,
it is.
absolutely.
But I think the thing is not to be saying that I know enough now. Every experience, every time to the same country, like I go to Europe now every 3 months. But every time I'll come back with something new, watch the television in the evening, just in the hotel room. Even if you don't understand, you can try to make out sometimes, and that's the way you try to pick up and learn.
I think that's so true, because in my work I travel around the globe, and initially years back when I started to travel, it was always very scary because of the unknown. The how would I reach from the airport to the hotel and then back to some sessions and all. But like as you said, it just the more you look around, the more you meet people, and they're really not that bad if you don't judge them. I think that helped me to overcome those unknowns, and that's why I resonated very well when you said that. So you're the managing director. You're always on the go. Okay, and that's how we started with the session, with this podcast. How do you find the time to meditate and to embrace that in your life?
Again, a very interesting question, because whenever we do meditation sessions, or I conduct meditation sessions, for a group of people or corporates, actually at the end of it, and when I say try to be regular, try to take out time, everybody says, we are so busy, how to take out time, and how can you say that, we will be able to be regular? I actually answer it in a different way, that I say that the fact that I am able to meditate ensures that I always feel I have more time than less. So the fact that it's become ingrained in my life, and in fact, it's true also. Sometimes when I travel because of time zones, I sleep less. But actually, when I do 30 or 45-minute meditation, I lose that feeling that I've slept less, because a deep meditation kind of compensates for a loss of sleep for few hours. And then you're fresh and ready. And then I can last the whole day, even with the time differences from whichever zone I'm traveling to. So I think it's all about deciding that this is necessary and important for me, not because you are telling me or somebody else told me. What I feel is necessary for me. So that's why even in this practice of meditation, when we say people to start, I just say try for 1 week, try for 1 month, and then judge based on the results for you, because in the end, you're not answerable or responsible to anyone. You're not being asked. It's not a package that, okay, you paid this much, so you have to do it. And that's where the real challenge comes, because sometimes when we pay to do things, we are more regular, but sometimes when something comes free, we don't value it enough, and we see that also. So I think once people feel the taste of it, and they feel, now it could be any meditation, either it could be heartfulness or XYZ, any other kind of practice. It's really about trying it yourself. And if you feel that's helped you, then why would you not, want to do it regularly? And why would you think that, oh, I have to take out time from my busy schedule to do this? It naturally to you, in that sense.
Because you're responsible for yourself. So that's why you're telling them it's better you do it for yourself rather than for anyone else. And taking out time for yourself is one of the most crucial stuff, things in a leader's life. But as you're sitting, like you said, for meditation and everything, and that's how you're even getting the courage to succeed in unknown places and move ahead with your travel, and even if you're sleeping less, it compensates for it. A lot of people believe that when you're meditating, your mind starts to go in everywhere, just everywhere, and that's the time when you don't want it to go everywhere. So how do you prime your mind? How do you make sure that you are focusing, if meditation is all about focus? Because I'm a huge believer of yoga, and I have started meditation to a certain extent, and I know the advantages, and that's why our listeners would love to know from you.
So the way I explain meditation is actually, I explain in very simple lines that you don't concentrate to meditate, you meditate to concentrate. So that summarizes in a way what heartfulness is, because in heartfulness we don't use the mind, we only meditate on the heart. And that's the whole idea, that if you meditate on the mind, that means you're still using the mind. So how can you calm the instrument using the same instrument, right? You want to calm the mind, but you're meditating using the mind. It can never happen. And that's why different practices may have different ways of doing things. And sometimes people say, pay your attention to this or that. But the moment you say pay attention or concentrate, that means you're using your mind. The best way to calm your mind is put your attention away out of it, bring it to the most subtle thing in our body, which is the heart. And then quietly bring your attention to it and just rest there. And thoughts will come, but they will come and go by. Over a period of time, through this practice, you kind of even don't know thoughts are coming or not. And you just gently slip into very deep meditation where mind is somewhere else. And you don't even know where it is, because you're not using the mind anyway. And through this thing, you're able to just, put those things away. And that's the beauty. But that is not about just one session. You really need to practice yourself and feel it.
Yeah, I'm sure, because and like you said, it's an everyday practice. So you're closing your eyes, you're not putting your focus on your mind, but you're on your heart. I think that's
again, focus on not on the heart actually. And here the key part is, we actually don't even focus on the heart, because the moment I say focus, people will
Yeah.
try to look for the heart or heartbeat
Yeah.
and everything. So we just say gently bring your attention to your heart with a thought that the source of divine is inside you. So, and you just rest there. After that, you don't repeat it. You don't try to look for any kind of light or divine or something, and you rest there. Now, the mind may still be active, but the thoughts, let them pass by in front of you as a movie reel. They come and go. Just ignore them as unwanted guests. So what that happens is, over a period of time, you just don't feel the thoughts coming because you're so tuned with your heart, and that's it. And the element in heartfulness is the transmission of energy which you feel. It comes from the source, and as trainers it flows through them to the practitioners who's wishing to start the practice. Or if you're meditating alone yourself, then you feel it, because when you start meditation, you need to have couple of sessions where the trainer helps you to open your inner self to be receptive to this transmission of energy. So that's why the role of a trainer is always there. Now, after that, you can meditate yourself and you're able to call upon that energy. The moment you slip into meditation, you feel that energy inside you, so that helps you to just go deeper into your meditative states.
Oh, this is so beautifully articulated, Nitin. I for a moment I was like, okay, can I just practice this? This is really nice. So I think you've given such a clear understanding of these things. What would be your advice to people who want to be successful at their work?
Well, I think they need to be people oriented. I think it's very, very important, because there's that notion that, once you become a leader or whatever, you just need to be strong headed, driving, pushing, running with numbers. But I think you need to be people oriented, meaning you also need to involve people in your decision making or strategy, depending on whatever position or title or responsibilities you hold. I think you need to create an environment of innovation and curiosity, that people can, ask questions, contribute. The element of MTR, which I say mutual trust and respect, I think is very key. And then obviously, I mean, whatever responsibility you have, it has to come that you need to have a knowledge and previous experience or some idea of it. So the technical element of whatever title or position or role you're doing, obviously that has to come. All these things, if you add that to your basic experience, then it really helps. And people grow, support them, playing a role of a guide, mentor sometimes. Obviously you have to sometimes be strong also, because some people may not get the message. Again, it varies culture to culture. Certain cultures you could be strong and decisive. Certain other cultures you have to find another way to convey the message. So I think all that together, I would say, really helps you. Fine. I mean, even after doing, sometimes maybe you will still not get the success, but then that's part of it. You'll still learn from it, and then you move along.
Beautifully put. Nitin, we are on the last segment of this interview, which is the leadership rapid fire. Okay, you've had this career life spread across decades, and you have been in a leadership roles quite a number of companies. Would love to do this leadership rapid fire with you, and this is basically where very quickly whatever comes to your mind would be your answer. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, super. Okay, so the biggest leadership myth you've heard.
That's a difficult one we keep on hearing, but I would say that you need to be strong and know everything.
Ah, yeah, a leader must know everything. I know, I get that. One thing that motivates you to get out of bed in the morning, even today.
I feel like I can make a difference in whatever I do, whether personal or professional life. Yeah.
And I think you're truly doing that with all that you explained. Your favorite part of being a leader?
Connecting with people. I think that's the biggest beauty of what I feel, that you are together with people and with your team and your colleagues and everything.
And you also gave that as an advice that's one of the best ways people can really move ahead in their
Yes.
career, when they take their people with them. Okay, which superpower would you
So
choose? Invisibility or mind reading?
invisibility.
I thought so. I was very sure you will say that. I don't know why, because you had explained this so well when you were talking about heartfulness. I just felt that you might just say invisibility. Tell me why, but
I will say why not mind reading, because in the end, the mind is full of so many things. If I develop that capability, if I have 10 people around me and I mean, I learned few years back when I was presenting to corporates that an average mind has nearly 60,000 to
yeah,
70,000 thoughts a day.
yeah,
Now imagine you have 10 people around you, multiply, and all those things you're still not settled your mind, and on top of it you have hundreds of thousands of other things which come to your mind. I think you'll get crazy, frankly, and you don't need to know that, frankly,
absolutely.
that so I think invisibility is much better. Yeah.
And with everything that you had explained about the mind, and how to calm it and everything, I had this strong hinge, that you would take invisibility, and now I get it why. Your biggest leadership pet peeve.
Well, I think time management and not respecting others' time.
Mm, yeah, a whole lot, right? We give our times to
I
everyone.
sometimes, yeah, you see leaders taking others' time for granted,
Yeah,
but not reciprocating the same way as as people would want, or I mean, but they don't behave in the same way as they want people to do so. So I think that's been always
mm,
sometimes, maybe it's I don't know, maybe it's necessary, maybe it's important to show that you're a leader. That's why you need to do that. I've still not figured that out,
yeah.
frankly.
Same here.
So,
It's so difficult to understand, that when we are giving our time and on time. I had read it somewhere that being on time is actually being late. So you need to be earlier, than your time that you have given to the person. So yeah, I think you're just so
but
spot on
then
on
but
that.
then imagine if somebody is late, then what would you call that?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Being on time is late. So being late is like super,
Late
super
coming.
late. You're not just not on the agenda at all then. I
True,
remember when
true,
I had
true, true.
started off my career, and then when my first leadership role when I had got, the one thing that I would hate is if people would make me wait. And so, everybody knew
Yeah.
that, 5 minutes Payal will wait, and after that she's gone. So you cannot catch her after that, because I used to feel that if I am on time, you might as well be on time, right? So if you could travel back in time and change something about the corporate world, what would that be? What change would you bring?
I tricky one, but I would say one thing which I see, and I'm part of that. Sometimes that mistake we make, when new people join, we
Mm,
always are looking at training about the work, the products, the technical elements, but very less the HR or some of us as leaders focus on the people element part of it when new people join. Maybe it depends organization to organization, but I think that's something which, if it can be brought in itself from day one, okay, one element is for the job. You're
mm,
joining a new company, you need to know about the product, the environment, and other things.
mm,
But to also have more elements of, uh, I mean, HR is involved when new people join for sure. But do we give enough time on people? Do we give enough time on cross-cultural training? Do headquarters
mm,
of big corporates, do they spend time on that, training their teams, which may be of a specific nationality or a country because they are based out of a certain country or culture, to
mm,
how to work in an international environment? I think that's something more and more is needed now, because we are not insulated, we are all connected. And I
mm.
think that's where I would say, if that can be really a key element to be incorporated and inculcated, that would help everyone a lot.
That's very right, and I think the conversation you and I are having now, when you ended it with people, I need to have you back sometimes talk about this, because you also gave that as one of the biggest advice, and your favorite part of being a leader. But Nitin, thank you so much for being on this podcast. I know how valuable your time is, and you've really shared incredible insights from your own experience, and helping others to grow. So thank you so much for that.
No, thank you, Payal, and thank you for these very insightful and interesting questions. I hope my answers would be useful for someone to make any sense out of it. and great, to be with you here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.